Neymar's old boots versus Neymar's new boots. The Nike Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite versus the Puma King Platinum. What are the differences? Which one is better in which areas? And perhaps most importantly, which one should you buy and why? No opinions on marketing, just a straight up comparison of two football boots that I would never be comparing unless Puma paid Neymar a record amount of money. Nonetheless, there is a ton of newfound interest in the Puma King Platinum, so while I wouldn't normally compare these two boots because they're not really marketed in the same way, they are going to be compared moving forward by association of course, Neymar. And what's also kind of interesting is back when these came out over a year ago, when I first reviewed them, I actually compared them to the Nike Mercurial. So regardless of if you're a Neymar fan looking to switch into Puma Kings from Nike Mercurials, or you're just curious about how these two boots compare to each other, I'm gonna go over all the details in today's video, including how they fit and feel on feet. So if you wanna learn more about them, please stick around, watch the entire comparison. And if you are interested in either of these two boots for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the links down below in the description. That's gonna take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick up either of these two boots below their normal retail prices. If you guys do end up enjoying this video and wanna see more comparisons on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like, and let me know which boots you'd like to see compared down below in the comments. And if you're new here watching for the first time and don't wanna miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. A normal Vapor 13 Elite retails for $250. However, it must be noted that a Neymar signature colorway, just like the CR7 ones, do bear a premium on the normal retail price, where these would run you $270 at full retail rather than $250, where the Puma King Platinum, as it is right now, the few colorways that Puma have put out, they retail for $200. Now, there was a laser touch variant of the King Platinum that retailed for $250. I don't think you got that much more for your money given the added features that were included with that boot, but it also would not surprise me that once we do see actual Neymar signatures in Puma King Platinum form, they might bump up the retail price from $200, but that remains to be seen. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but from a value for money perspective, the King is the cheaper football boot. Now this is where you're going to find the biggest difference between these two boots. The Vapor, of course, featuring a Flyknit upper, where the Puma King Platinum features a kangaroo leather upper. Now the Vapor, I think pretty much everyone is familiar with at this point in time. This is and has been the most popular top-end football boot on the market, and the Flyknit upper is no joke. It's very thin, it's remarkably flexible, it's reinforced by way of high tenacity yarns, which do a really good job of adding structure to the upper without taking away from the flexibility of it. This, from a Mercurial Vapor comfort perspective, is arguably the most comfortable Mercurial Vapor Nike have ever made. And with the laces tied tight, the lockdown, the responsiveness, the way that this upper wraps your foot is pretty much unlike anything else other than maybe the Puma King Platinum. Because if you look at these two boots side by side, just the base silhouette, that's the reason why I compared them to the Mercurials back when they first came out. This is the most Mercurial-esque shape of any football boot outside of the actual Nike Mercurial. But of course, with the Puma King Platinum, while there is an elasticated knitted component to it running through the middle of the foot, kind of replacing the tongue, of course utilizing a dual lace hole system just like the Mercs, you're gonna find that the upper is made from this very thin kangaroo leather material with minimal extra reinforcement, a little bit here through the toe, but for the most part, it's just thin leather reinforced by an internal liner. Very traditional in terms of its overall setup, a little strip of material to add some reinforcement through the midfoot, and based on what we've seen Neymar actually wearing, while he has a totally different sole plate and the shape of the boot seems to be completely custom, he does appear to have an upper that is very, very close to the retail version and actually made out of leather. Both of these uppers are very thin to the point where I would describe both of them as having a barefoot touch on the ball. The main difference is that the leather on the Puma King in general is just going to feel a lot softer, more flexible, and arguably a little bit more natural on feet, with the trade-off being that it's definitely not as structured or as responsive as what you're going to get from the Merc. So this has a little bit more of a raw, pingy sensation, where this is kind of a nice combination of the thinner feel you expect from a modern football boot, but also the softness you expect from a natural high quality kangaroo leather. So it really does depend on what you're looking for. I think it's a difficult thing to say that one is better than the other in this situation because they are so different from each other. But I would say this, if you're after comfort and softness, you'll probably prefer the upper of the King Platinum, or if you want more of a objective performance-focused football boot in terms of having this really locked-in responsive sensation, then definitely the Flyknit upper of the Mercurial is going to be more up your alley. Although it must be said, if you took these two boots and blended them together, you would end up with this, the brand new 2020 TechCraft variation of the Vapor 13 Elite, which features a Flyknit base, a new liner, as well as a super thin kangaroo leather top layer to the upper, and the boot feels fantastic. You get performance characteristics that are a little bit better than the King Platinum, not quite to the same standard as the regular version of the Vapor 13 Elite, but in general, in terms of giving you the best of both worlds of both of these boots, I feel like this does that really well, but again, it depends on what you're looking for. Now here's where the comparison gets a little bit tricky for hardcore Neymar fans, because Neymar did not and does not wear either of these sole plates or stud patterns. These of course being the FG variants of both the Vapor and the King Platinum. Now when Neymar was wearing Mercurials, he actually was not using the very aggressive FG stud pattern, but instead the AG Pro stud pattern, which is specifically made for use on artificial grass, but of course he was wearing it on natural grass fields. The main reason why he was doing this is because he seems to prefer conical studs, which is exactly what you get from the AG Pro variation. So I would give you guys the exact same advice. If you want something a little bit more aggressive with as much bite as possible, go for the FG variation with the chevron blades. It's very popular for a reason. Neymar just doesn't seem to like it. But if you want something a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more traditional in terms of having these rounded studs, then definitely the AG Pro variation of the Mercs is the way to go. In the case of the King Platinum, you'll notice that this features a stud pattern that has mostly conical studs, but there are some blades worked in through the heel and forefoot as well. Neymar is not wearing this particular sole plate or stud pattern on his custom Puma Kings. Instead, you have something that looks to be along the lines of what you actually get on the takedown Puma King Pro, which in general is just a lot more traditional and does not include the external heel counter. Again, I'm going to assume that this is a personal preference of Neymar's. I personally prefer this King Platinum stud pattern over the one that he's currently wearing, but if you're curious about Neymar's personal taste, that's a look at what the guy actually wears. But when it comes to actually comparing these two sole plates and stud patterns in the retail FG variations, they're both really good. I don't have any major complaints about either of them. I think that what the Mercurial has on offer is certainly more aggressive in terms of how much traction is provided. You get way more bite, you get way more grip when pushing off, when accelerating, when decelerating. It really is the most aggressive stud pattern on the market, and the sole plate has a little bit more of a kind of responsive, I guess, energy return type of feel in comparison to the Puma King Platinum, which is more naturally flexible all the way through. But that's not to say that this is inferior, it's just a little bit different. So there is a huge personal preference aspect in terms of comparing these two. The conical studs, while they're round in shape, they're relatively long, so it's more aggressive than you might expect it to be. You get the toe pick stud right there towards the front of the boot. And in general, it still feels very aggressive despite being a fairly traditional looking style of football boot. So definitely if you want something more traditional, the King Platinum stud pattern and sole plate is going to be more along the lines of what you might like. But if you just want modern, super aggressive traction, then I'd probably go for the Mercs. Now this is where the comparison gets kind of interesting, because obviously the Mercurial is a speed boot, and part of what this series is known for, part of why it's been so popular, is because it offers a very lightweight feel and construction, where the Puma King is known as a heritage boot. And while the current Puma King Platinum does not compare in any way at all to any classic Puma King models, aside from the fact that there is kangaroo leather in use on the upper, we've been led to believe over the years through football boot marketing that leather is this old school material material that is heavier than knits or synthetics or pretty much anything that isn't leather, when in reality, these two boots are very similar in terms of overall weight. So I'm gonna weigh them both for you today on the scale, which is now booting up because I took too long and it shut off on its own. But we'll start off with the Mercurials, both of these boots in a size 9.5 US, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.9 ounces, the equivalent of 196 grams. We'll change the scale back to ounces and we'll throw on the Puma King Platinums, and you can see that they weigh in at slightly more, 7.2 ounces, the equivalent of 205 grams. So you're talking about a weight difference between these two boots of basically less than 10 grams, which quite frankly, aside from the difference in terms of feel and overall lockdown and responsiveness, the weight difference between these two boots is pretty negligible. Now this is something that I rarely talk about in my reviews, but I felt it was important to address because I think a lot of people buying King Platinums, this will be their first leather football boot, and a lot of people are of the impression that leather boots are hard to take care of. They require constant cleaning. You have to treat the leather with some kind of leather cream or conditioner, and honestly, once upon a time, old school leather boots were a little bit more of a pain. They absorbed a lot more water, they took a lot longer to dry, and they would legitimately require a lot more maintenance. But modern treatment processes for leather boots is a lot better than it used to be, and in general, they're pretty low maintenance. As long as you keep them clean and you let them dry out after every single session, you won't really have to do much to them. Can you apply leather cream to a Puma King Platinum if you want to maintain peak softness of the leather? Yeah, absolutely, you can do that, but I don't think it's entirely necessary. Where of course, with the Flyknit upper on the Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite, it's a synthetic boot. There are no natural materials. There is no leather to treat. Just keep them clean, and that's pretty much it. This is the one area where these two boots actually feel way more similar to each other than I think a lot of people would expect. From a shape, width, and overall volume perspective, these are two football boots that actually compare pretty closely. The difference is going to come in the material of the upper, where obviously the kangaroo leather of the Puma King, it is equally as thin as the Mercurials, but it's softer, it's more flexible, and just less structured in general. So fresh out of the box, they'll have a very responsive feel, but as you wear them in, leather does soften up, it stretches ever so slightly. It's gonna lose a little bit of that initial responsiveness that the boot has, and when compared to the Mercurials in general, it really is no contest. This has way more lockdown, the upper is more structured because of the way that it's designed with the high tenacity yarns, and in terms of overall responsiveness, it's more of a speed boot than the Puma King Platinum is, where this has kind of a speed boot shape to it, but more of a traditional boot type of fit, feel, and I guess overall performance characteristics. So it does depend on what you're looking for in terms of overall flexibility. Again, the Puma King Platinum just feels more natural with its more flexible sole plate and softer leather upper, where this again is more raw, kind of responsive speed boot. And then in terms of overall width, they're very similar in terms of shape. I wouldn't say that either of them are fantastic options for really wide feet, but if you've worn Mercurials in the past, you kind of know what to expect from a width perspective. The Puma King Platinum is kind of in the same boat, maybe a little bit more width through the midfoot, but in general, I think both of these boots will fit most people as long as you like a tighter overall fit. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing both of these boots in my usual size 9.5 US. So if you're looking to order either the Kings or the Mercurials, I would definitely recommend going true to size. So in conclusion, which of these two boots should you buy? And I really feel like there are two schools of thoughts in regards to this decision-making process. I think if your mindset when it comes to football boots is having the latest tech and really objectively the best performance characteristics, hands down, the Mercurial would be the better option out of these two boots. Not saying they're gonna make you faster or a better player versus somebody wearing Puma King Platinums, but in terms of objective performance, it is one of the best football boots that money can buy, one of the best football boots ever made, if I'm being totally honest with you guys, where the other school of thought in regards to football boots, in regards to what would draw you to the Puma King Platinum, is if you really just value more of a comfort, natural sensation on feet from your boots, where yeah, there's objective performance that matters to a certain extent, and you're gonna get adequate performance out of the Puma King Platinum in regards to lockdown and responsiveness, but the comfort, the touch, the simplicity of a football boot like this is something that I really admire, and something that we don't see that often from a lot of modern football boots, being that they are kind of getting more complex and everything's a knitted upper and everything's about texture. This is just super simple and very pure. So objectively, it's not as good as the Mercurials, but I really don't think that they compare to each other all that well. It's kind of just two different football boots for two different types of people. And as far as what my preference would be, because I know you guys are always curious to know, as much as I admire the technical achievement that is the current Vapor 13 Elite, and I'd be happy to wear them even though it's not really my style of football boot, I've always been a fan of leather football boots, and I feel like the way that the Puma King Platinum has been designed really is that happy medium from giving you that classic comfort and leather sensation that you expect from something old school, but with the design and fit of something a lot more modern. It effectively is, like I said back when it first came out, a leather variant of the Nike Mercurial. Is it lacking in certain performance characteristics? Absolutely, but that's not something that really bothers me. What I like about the King Platinum is it's a pair of football boots that once broken in, the leather molds to your feet, they become so comfortable, they move so naturally that you forget you're wearing anything at all, where the Mercurial is pretty well the exact opposite of that. It's constant structure, it's squeezing your feet, you're always aware that they're there, and some people really like it. It's the reason why the Mercurial is the most popular football boot on the market, but for me personally, given the choice between the two, I like the King Platinum, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what yours is down below in the comment section. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in either of these two boots for yourself, links to the review pages can be found down below in the description, where you'll be able to pick up either of these below their normal retail prices. If you have any questions, as always, regarding anything that I talked about in this video, feel free to ask those questions down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.